Rock and roll news. It all starts with a heartbeat. With just over a minute, the instrumental vignette Speak to Me brings some sound representations of what we'll hear on the record, like time's clocks and money's cash registers. There's also a helicopter sound and bits of lines and laughter, which permeate other moments on the album. Chaos ensues in the final seconds to lead to the languid calm of Breathe in the Air. On March 1, 1973, The Dark Side of the Moon hit stores. It was Pink Floyd's 8th studio album. Whoever placed the needle on the vinyl would hear those heartbeats. And many people heard that sound. According to information from the book The Dark Side of the Moon, behind the scenes of Pink Floyd's masterpiece, published by Zahar, published by John Harris in 2005, the album had around 30 million units sold worldwide. It reached 724 weeks on the best-selling album lists in the United States. The book also points out that in England, the band's home country, it was estimated that 1 in 5 households owned the album. In fact, the British magazine Q declared that, with so many copies sold, it was virtually impossible for a minute to pass without Dark Side playing somewhere on the planet. One of the most important albums in the history of rock and pop culture, with one of the most iconic and recognizable covers, a prism crossed by a ray of light that turns into a rainbow. The Dark Side of the Moon is the moment of maximum interplay of ideas between Nick Mason, drums, Roger Waters, bass and vocals, David Gilmour, guitar and vocals, and Richard Wright, keyboards and vocals. After that, things would not be the same, with Waters controlling the band creatively until his departure in 1985, but leaving firecrackers along the way, such as Wish You Were Here, 1975, Animals, 1977, and The Wall, 1979. In the documentary Classic Albums, The Dark Side of the Moon, 2003, Gilmour says that the work began in a warehouse that belonged to the Rolling Stones, in the London neighborhood of Bermondsey. There, Pink Floyd performed jams that would give rise to the album's compositions. Incidentally, the tracks from Dark Side entered the repertoire of the performances that the band performed while recording the album, between June 1972 and January 1973. So, the group also improved the songs on stage. Dark Side features universal themes such as death, insanity, greed, and war. However, the work also bears Waters' autobiographical traces, such as the death of his father in World War II and the mental problems that plagued Syd Barrett, former leader of Pink Floyd, who left the band in 1968. Waters points out in Harris's book, was the idea that dysfunction, madness, and conflict could be reduced when people rediscovered the one fundamental characteristic they had in common, in this case, the potential to recognize the humanity of the other, and his response to it with empathy. However, over the decades there have been different interpretations of the album. The most famous theory indicates that the album would have been created as a secret soundtrack for The Wizard of Oz, 1939, as the songs would be synchronized with the film. However, Waters intended the lyrics of Dark Side to be unarguably direct and simple. For example, Money, which features a memorable bass line and its cash register loops, is about greed and dirty money. Marked by a flood of clocks, time reflects on the waste of existence away from what is important. Breathe warns that we shouldn't be afraid to care about others, don't be afraid to care. Us and Them addresses the conflicts and questions whether the human race is capable of having humanity. Brain Damage, which deals with mental health, has allusions to Barrett. At the end of the epic eclipse, a heartbeat is heard again, as if the cycle of life is complete. Celebrating 50 years. Among the celebrations of the disc's 50th anniversary, Pink Floyd should release a new Dark Side box set, scheduled for March 24. The package will include CD and vinyl, plus Blu-ray audio plus DVD with original 5.1 mix and stereo versions, an additional Blu-ray of the Atmos mix, plus the CD and LP of The Dark Side of the Moon, Live at Wembley Empire Pool, London, 1974. The package will also contain replicas of the band's 2 singles, Money with Any Color You Like on the B-side and Us and Them with Time on the B-side. The box also includes the book Pink Floyd, The Dark Side of the Moon, 50th Anniversary. Curated by photographer Jill Furmanovsky and art directed by Aubrey Powell, the work features rare and unpublished photographs taken during tours from 1972 to 1975. Finally, the box contains posters, stickers, and a replica of the 1973 EMI flyer and an invitation to see The Dark Side of the Moon at the London Planetarium. Incidentally, we may see a new angle of the disc. In February, Roger Waters told the Telegraph newspaper that he is re-recording Dark Side, but without the presence of the other members of Pink Floyd. The musician and producer Gus Seifert, longtime partner of the musician, and his girlfriend, the singer Bedouin, are the main collaborations of the project. Among the novelties that have been discussed so far are poems by Waters, which should appear over the original instruments, such as On the Run. There is still no date set for the release of the new version of the album.